welcome to episode 2 of Discuss Stuff. I'm Keith. This is Chris. Let's dive right
Howdy.
in.
All right, let's go.
Topic 1 this month. We're going to talk about the Sturgis motorcycle rally. I mean, I know it's a little outside the punk and the ska realm, but it's kind of a big deal. So, in case you're not aware, every year there's a big motorcycle rally in Sturgis, South Dakota. This year was no different, despite the crazy pandemic that is going around. So from August 7th to August 16th, it's estimated that nearly 460,000 individual vehicles descended into Sturgis. One of the highlights of this event is a 10-day concert at Buffalo Chip, which is a music venue and a campground that stands independent of Sturgis. I'm not exactly sure how accurate that is, but it's going by what I saw on Rolling Stone and CNN, so it might be somewhere. Headliners of this year's concert included Smash Mouth, which is now kind of famous, 38 Special, Night Ranger, Buck Cherry, Quiet Riot, Trapped, Lit, Molly Hatchet. It's also worthwhile noting that ZZ Top and Willie Nelson backed out of the event. So there's a lot to digest in there. The fact that they had a concert, like a massive event like that, live in person, when we've currently discussed people going to all digital concerts, and we talked about the Sweet Girls Festival. In our interview today, we talk about the ISO Fests and the Specialized Project out of England doing concerts, and everybody's moving to a digital platform, and here's these guys in the middle of South Dakota just going nuts.
Yeah, I guess there's a bit of a technological divide between bikers and all of us tech-savvy ska nerds, I guess. But yeah, man, I mean, well, first things first, how is it that this venue, this camp is like sort of in this no man's land, international waters kind of thing? Like, I mean, you'd think they'd be subject to restrictions of the state or the county or the town. But, as another article I read about this mentioned, like over half the people, maybe 60% of the people in town didn't want this thing to happen. But I guess they're somewhat out of the jurisdiction of the town. How does something like that happen? That's so weird.
Yeah, I don't know the true specifics of it, but it made it sound like since they were outside of Sturgis, even if if Sturgis said, hey, we're not doing it, we're shutting everything down, all these people that came to town would still be able to go to this campground.
Yeah, I mean, that still just blows my mind. I mean, it's like with that kind of level, you wonder like if the promoters are going to be held accountable for the medical bills or something along those lines. I mean, I think there was like initially 70 people caught COVID, and it was expected to spread from there, just from people that showed up. And when you have that level of lack of accountability, expect like there was an episode of Simpsons where they had monkey knife fights out in international waters, or you expect like all of corporate America to open up a PO box there as their filing address the next day or something. But that's wild that there's no oversight of this town venue, excuse me, or almost town. Apparently they tried to incorporate in 2016 as their own town.
Really?
Which I guess is
I didn't see that one.
Just a quick Google search on it. It was in Wikipedia, so take that for what it's worth, I guess. But I guess they weren't able to manage it in 2016. But that's still, just so bizarre that I'm not sure. I haven't looked at a map or anything. Maybe they're just that remote that you said they're outside the city limits. So
yep.
Where that authority begins and ends, and if they fall into a gray area, I don't know. But then you get into like that lineup. I look at some of those names, and some of it, bunch of bikers makes sense, and some of it's equally cringe. Like, oh my god, the band Trapped. Just looking at like their Twitter antics, they've gone like full Blue Lives Matter over the last, couple months. Like, they're not a band I see handling quarantine very well, personally.
Correct.
But then you look at things like, Smash Mouth, bikers, who knew? But it's like, here's the thing for me. Even if you're upset about being in quarantine, if you're, it's disrupting your life, we're all kind of going through this together in some regard. And like I saw a tweet saying, we're getting together, fuck this COVID shit. Like, I think he said that on stage. There's a big video of that circulating around during All-Star when they played it there. And it's like, like it or not, whether or not you think Smash Mouth is a great band or people to be emulated, they have a platform. And to say that stuff, it's dangerous because it definitely speaks to a certain element of our population that's also sick of the quarantines or things that believe that having to wear a mask is an infringement of their civil rights or some shit like that. And it's just like, dude, what the hell are you doing? You've got this giant microphone and you're advocating for getting together and for a big concert. And I don't know if you saw the video, there was no social distancing going on whatsoever at that place. I mean, you see like lines of bikers standing next to each other, people pushing through crowded packets to get places. I'm honestly surprised more people didn't get sick, but
Yeah.
time will tell, I guess. Speaking of, it's really just irresponsible. I mean, I don't see how a band could right now in 2020 could advocate doing what they did. But hello, you have any more to talk about that, or we thoroughly lambasted Smash Mouth?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've pretty much covered where we need to go with that.
Yeah.
But in a way, I do feel a little bad about it. Like,
Oh.
Like the town saying they didn't want it to happen. They tried to like make it not happen. And some of the bigger bars in the area even closed down for the event. But
really,
everybody just descended. Like they knew they weren't going to stop the tide, and people just showed up. So they were like, well, fuck it. I mean, if people are going to show up, let's just do it.
I guess.
So, I mean, like I couldn't imagine being in that 60% of the people that are like, no, this is a dumb idea. But having to deal with all those bikers coming in anyway.
Yeah, maybe you get out of town for that weekend. I don't know. Maybe you go find a hotel room in North Dakota. I don't know where the heck is close to Sturgis. But yeah, that's the scary thing, where just people actively, acting with impunity can just bring whatever they want with them, including COVID.
Yeah.
But anyways, the whole thing just seems irresponsible, and I think that's a pretty good segue into our next topic, personally.
Yeah. So to continue the trend of COVID-related music, Blink-182 recently released "Quarantine," which is their newest single and their first music since last year's album 9. It's definitely punkier sounding, which is it kind of grabbed my attention. It's a little more like older, probably like first 2 albums Blink-182. It sounded a little like Pennywise to me. And it's definitely like, it's notable because it's a distinct sound change from 9, which was almost exclusively a pop album.
Okay.
And honestly, like even for a pop album, it wasn't like as well received as I thought a Blink album would be. Which is crazy because their first album was Skiba, California, was amazing. It covered everything. It had some punk to it. It had a little bit of a Goldfinger vibe here and there. Like it sounded really, really good. And then to have 9 go the complete opposite direction was weird. And then to have them come back out with a Quarantine single that is like old 90s punk. It seems like they don't have a true direction or a plan for what they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, I remember the Matt Skiba thing with being like sort of a shot out of left field where, and it kind of changed direction for the band, at least sonically. I mean, that's the thing. I'm going to come clean. I'm not the biggest Blink-182 fan. Listening to this new track, I definitely gave off strong skate punk vibes to me. And musically, there's nothing wrong with it musically. In fact, I think it's very well produced, and I think that there are different producers that have different, ideas of where they want the band to go. But again, it's just one of those things where, it's kind of like along the same lines of Smash Mouth, where I think, they've got a platform. And, if you listen to the lyrics of the song, it's very clearly, I can't tell whether or not, and for me, I'm, again, admittedly not a huge Blink-182 fan, but as somebody who's not really plugged into that kind of scene or into that kind of fandom, I don't know whether or not they're being tongue-in-cheek or if they're being literally just like, man, being in quarantine fucking sucks. Fuck quarantine. And it's just, to me, as somebody who's just on the outside looking in, I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt that this could have been just, oh, these are what some people think and this is dumb. Or this could have been like, I'm sure there are going to be other people, and I'm sure we all have those, those friends, those people that are a little bit further right on the political spectrum. Like, yeah, man, fuck quarantine. It's not for me. And it's like, oh, man. It's like, I don't really know what's in their hearts. I don't know what's, if they have a history of being very, coy and tongue in cheek about stuff. Because I mean, there was one line in there like, no ventilators, no PPE, or we don't need no ventilators, we don't need PPE. And I'm like, no, you do. and again, I'm not sure if that's just some big joke. Maybe it's just going over my head. But, to me, it's just like, there are going to be people that take that literally. And by saying those things, because you're Blink-182 and releasing a single, that's going to resonate with some people. And I just think it's, me personally, irresponsible. That's just my take on it.
Which I totally understand. I mean, you live in basically what was the epicenter of COVID in the United States.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
New York City.
The shit that happened in New York City is scary from a medical professional. I'm super glad I wasn't involved. And I mean, not in a bad way. I mean, I would do my part, and I'm just glad it didn't hit Rhode Island quite as hard as it hit New York. That being said, I think early Blink was kind of tongue-in-cheek, and even with Enema of the State, like, it was openly tongue-in-cheek. It was there wasn't a whole lot of subtlety in their goofiness. So for them to say this is like a throwback to old Blink, I can understand them being a little more tongue-in-cheek with it. So to me, it reads more as sarcastic. It reads more as like an immature take on, I'm angry and I don't want to sit in my room anymore. And maybe it wasn't the best flushed out idea. Maybe they could have done something a little more lyrically to distinguish, what's sarcastic and what is just, petulant anger. So, I mean, I'm hard pressed to say that they made like a true political statement on it. I think it was more just immature boot kicking,
Yeah, I mean, I can see that. Maybe it sort of reframes the whole Republican talking points about reopening the economy. Like, what's his name? The lieutenant governor of Texas made that ridiculous statement back in late March, early April, like, oh, well, people my age, he's like almost 70 years old, are fine, jeopardizing our lives or putting our lives at risk to reopen the economy. Like, that's ridiculous, dude. You're actually taking politics to its most ridiculous end.
Yeah, 100%.
And he's a lieutenant governor. He's somebody who could actually make policy decisions or take actions to enforce that stuff. And it's scary seeing him at the time, seeing him make the rounds on all the cable news channels, advocating for reopening the economy. And, fast forward, 4 months from then or 5 months from then, and we had the worst response on the planet. Some models I've seen say that, if things continue the way they're continuing, we're expected to hit 300,000 deaths in November. And I mean, that's assuming that just on the trajectory we're on. That's not to say if things don't, say the second wave hits in New York or somewhere else that had previously been contained, which is, one of the reasons why things like social distancing and all these other measures we've taken, like quarantines and partial shutdowns and stuff, are so important. And yeah, I agree. It sucks being in quarantine. It sucks not being able to go to the movies and do things like normal. But if we ever want to be able to do normal things again safely, we don't want to go back into, severe lockdown. That's just unfortunately, I think, what we have to do. And I'm not saying that they're not saying that, but it's ambiguous, is what I'm saying. Yep.
It's totally ambiguous. And the thing that hits home on this is I live in a small state. Like, I read an article the other day saying that the number of people killed by COVID would equal like Providence, Rhode Island just being wiped off the map. So, I mean,
wow.
Like, for me, it's different because, like, that's the capital of my state. Like, that's the most populated area in my state. So for that to be gone is a lot. So, like, I get it. Like, maybe we shouldn't be joking around about it, or at least make it a little more obvious when you're joking around about it.
Yeah, I mean,
leaving it ambiguous, maybe not the best move.
I mean, yeah, I mean, it sort of seems like almost like playing both sides against the middle a little bit in terms of sales and whatnot. But I mean, who knows? I'm not an industry professional by any stretch. So what do I know?
So maybe we can put a little bit of advice out into the world. maybe don't listen to Smash Mouth and Blink 182 when you want some COVID advice.
Not sages of our time.
Yeah, right. You want something to rock your head to a little bit, or drink some beers to? Yeah, sure. Maybe don't take what they're saying as 100%.
Yeah, I mean, what's it called? You know, okay, Steve, thanks. I'll now play Walking on the Sun.
Yeah, right. Play the hits.
Yeah, and I hate to say that. I don't believe that, you know, musicians should necessarily stay out of politics, but oh boy, you know, you take the good with the bad, I guess. You let people give them a soapbox. Hope they use it responsibly. That's all I can say. Use your soapbox responsibly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, well, let's move on to something a little more fun. So there's been a recent badass album that just came out. Washington, D.C.'s Kill Lincoln have put out Can't Complain, which has everybody raving. Like, I haven't heard a single bad thing about the album. My initial run through of the album was I was thinking it was maybe a little more like pop punk than I would like in a ska album. I'm not a huge fan of, this is probably going to get me lambasted, but I'm not like a huge fan of Less Than Jake or We Are the Union, or, you know, a couple of those other bands that ride the line between pop punk and ska. But to say that, like, I'm still listening to them. Like, they're still in rotation. Like, to say I don't like a ska band it's different than saying I don't like country music. Like, I don't listen to country music, but I do listen to We Are the Union, and I listen to Less Than Jake, just not as frequently.
Yeah, I mean, you're sort of parsing the difference between, you know, casting out an entire genre or not even casting dispersion, just, you know, expressing a preference for one type of subgenre over another. I mean, I think there's plenty of room under the ska tent for everybody that, you know, makes its way into there, whether it's Kill Lincoln or the Allstonians, or, you know, whatever extreme you want to take it to, whether it's more traditional, more punk based. Yeah, I haven't seen anyone say anything bad about this record, and I've listened to it a few times myself as well. It came out on Bad Time Records, which seems to be a new label that's pushing more of a punk-centered ska music lately. I mean, they've got a bunch of bands that are up and out there, like they've got Kill Lincoln, obviously. They've got Catbite. There was a band called Free Kick from Japan I think they're working with. And it seems like they're really trying to make a push to be like the one relevant ska punk label out there right now. I mean, aside from like the big ones like Asian Man Records, which is, you know, big indie, I guess. But even then, they're not actively out. They have a more diverse lineup than just ska. They put out, you know, pop punk. They put out emo. They put out a lot of stuff on Asian Man these days. So it's good to see someone really, you know, picking up that checkered flag and, you know, really trying to make a run with it, you know. But yeah, I haven't seen anyone say anything bad about it. I remember one of the guys involved, this guy, Drew Shriver, I used to see I used to play in this band, Bigger Thomas, and I used to see him at Bigger Thomas shows a lot. I've seen him at, like, you know, in some of their press photos with the Bigger Thomas t-shirt on and stuff, so that was kind of cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But yeah, I mean, it seems like they're making moves. Kill Lincoln, they went to Japan, I think it was last year or the year before that. Well, up until COVID, they were touring all over the place. It really just makes me happy, and it's interesting because, you know, a lot of people compare them to Less Than Jake because, you know, Less Than Jake is, you know, one of the more Less Than Jake and We Are the Union are two big examples of bands that sort of blend that pop punk and ska sound. It's sort of really just, you know, I'd say the bass is more on the pop punk side than the ska side, where they're sort of, you know, pop punk with horns and stuff like that. And that sort of, you know, just perfectly describes We Are the Union to me. I mean, even Less Than Jake. I mean, I don't know. I haven't listened to it. I'll be honest. I haven't listened to it enough to really get a full feel for each individual songs. To me, though, I definitely think that this, compared to their previous records, has a more cohesive vision for what I think the band wants to be. Yeah. They've definitely sort of found their sound, and they're really kind of, you know, they zero in on it, as opposed to, you know, being all over the map like some bands. Like, for me personally, you know, when I write music, I try to not make all the records sound the same, or not all the songs sound the same per record. This one seems like it's got more of a core sound that they work in. And, you know, it's you can't argue. It's got great production on it. The band was making all the right moves. They sent out, like, in advance of the record coming out, they sent out like actual, like, press mailers to their mailing list with like a little I think it was like a coloring book kind of thing and word searches and stuff to get people
That's
to the
awesome.
record. It was a really cool approach that you don't see a lot of bands doing because it takes time, to actually sit down and send out thousands of or hundreds of postcards or hundreds of letters to people. And, kudos to them for really making a good stab at it. I really like it. The horns are tight as hell, which is
Oh
really
my God.
cool.
Ridiculous. Like
Yeah.
I say that I don't like that. Why, I'm not totally on board with the pop punk sound, but man, those horns brought me back. Like,
Yeah.
that's some of the tightest horn sections I've seen in a while.
Yeah.
No, there's great horn sections out there, but like the way they play with each other and the harmonies and everything, it's just fantastic.
Yeah, a lot of people make the comparisons to like Less Than Jake Away the Union. To me, I see like other bands that are a little bit more, I'd say micro focused a little bit. Like I definitely see shades of Survey Says in there. I see shades of Last Martyrs for a Lost Cause from Philadelphia.
See, I don't know those guys.
Really good. You should check them out. High School Football Heroes from Long Island. I see shades of that. Sort of, working in that same, pop punk base with ska overlay milieu. It's good stuff, man. I can't wait to see what they do in the future. It seems like they're part of the new I wouldn't call it a popular clique of ska, but they're definitely on what's his name, Jeremy Hunter from Ska Tune Network's radar. He's been bumping them up a lot, and they're in pretty good company, man. I'm excited to see where they go with things. And I can't wait to get back to shows because I still haven't seen them live, so I'm really excited.
All right. After this album, I'm gonna make it a point. Like when this comes around, like if they, sometimes bands come through Boston, and I'm like, I don't know, it's kind of a long drive, but if they come around, I'm going to see them. Yeah.
There's no more after when we finally start doing live music. There'll be no more excuses.
Yeah, no, never again.
Yeah, use it or lose it. So, anyways, that's great. It's good to see more ska records coming out. I know this year has kind of been a bit of a challenge for bands putting out new records, but we've already got Threat Level Burgundy, we've got Kill Lincoln, and I'm excited to see what else people have cooking for us in 2020.
Yeah, I'm very excited. All right, well, that takes us right into the interview.
So everybody, stick around after our interview with Paul and Paul from the Specialized Project. We got a special announcement in this month's plug. Here we are, Paul and Paul from Specialized.
All right, so tonight we're joined by Paul and Paul from the Specialized Product.
Good evening.
So recently you guys ran off with like a weekend-long online ska festival called ISO Fest.
Right.
Yeah, well, the second one in truth.
Okay.
We'd already done one. How long did it take us to pull together the first one, Willow? From absolutely
2 days.
Yeah. Seriously, it was
about 2 weeks,
a week, wasn't it? The first one.
Yeah, a week. Yeah,
and we didn't know. I didn't even know what OBS was at that time, but the streaming software that you use. So we thought we'd have another go, see if we could do it a bit better.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. I tuned into a lot of it. You guys had some impressive bands on the list.
It's got better. Even the second one was absolutely. We're really. We've been working with a lot of South American ska bands, and the quality in South America at the moment is phenomenal. Absolutely. Argentina, Venezuela, everywhere. Brazil. This goes on. It's amazing, and and I think the world should see things like that. And again, North American bands as well. Some fantastic stuff. And I think majority of our material was probably from the Americas, wasn't it, Paul? I think.
Yeah, probably were. No, you're right. I think with the Latin American bands, that's really come about because of the tribute album series that we do.
Really?
Yeah. We've been doing that for 9 years now. So that pool of contacts has been around for a while.
Yeah.
But we should also thank Joel Amaro.
Joel
From
Amaro.
the Al Inspector radio show, which is based in Venezuela. Sorry. And he when we start putting together these albums each year, Joel contacts me and says, right, here's my list. And so I guess he's kind of our scout, you like.
Yeah,
Or would
he
you
is.
say-
Yeah,
yeah,
that's exactly what he is. That's exactly what he's doing. Yeah.
yeah. But you know, he brings together. He's brought his bands like Out of Control Army, Dr. No, Big Man Drake,
Scarbeat City.
and
Oh.
just, well, loads. He's brought in absolutely loads, and without exception, they are all brilliant.
Yeah.
No, we were talking on the our own radio show this week about why is it that the South American scene is so prevalent in the virtual festival world. You know, and it's interesting that when I talk to European bands, I'm sure when Paul talks to guys as well, you know, there's a lot of explanation that needs to take place, a lot of upskilling, a lot of training, if you like, to help, say, a European band to bring something to the event. Whereas with a Latin American band, they're kind of already there. And
On
I
the
think
ball.
that's
On the
part
ball.
is because I think they're just used to challenge more, I think, than say North American. I mean, I don't want to be rude, and I'm sure people will pick up on that and say, no, Paul, you're being unfair. But, you know, a band from Venezuela where half the band are in exile,
That's what I was just going to say.
still managed to come together and play both of our virtual festivals and contribute year in, year out to our tribute series. You know,
Which band?
Guys,
Which band, if you don't mind me asking?
to finding solutions, I think. You know, and that's probably why we're finding so many Latin American bands on these virtual festivals. That's what I think, anyway.
Which band from Venezuela, if you don't mind me asking? The Big Man Drake or Disorder
yeah.
Publico?
Well, yeah.
We've had Horatio, haven't we?
Yeah, we've had Horatio twice.
Yeah.
Horatio he sent us one song the first time. And the second time he sent us a more kind of a virtual gig, really.
Yeah.
That's come through Joel.
Yeah.
Horatio Blanco. Also
Is Ellie Ray from Venezuela?
Yeah, that's right. So Ellie Ray was the first time with us, wasn't she?
Yes.
She's
Big
very
Band
keen.
Dracula.
She's going to appear on next year's tribute album.
Yeah,
very cool.
You know, she's really keen. She's amazing.
She is.
Virtually so softening. She plays a lot in the Latin American like R&B circuit. You know, that kind of like pop music circuit. It's, you know, she plays with some pretty well-renowned names all across South America, which is another thing, is they don't tend to kind of work within their own country exclusively a lot.
Yeah.
As well.
That's right.
You know, like Villa Skinner from Peru.
Fantastic band.
Oh, I mean, I actually posted on my Facebook the other week that there's not many bands that actually touch me in the way that they do. That's kind of really in my wheelhouse. But, you know, I was talking to Jim from there, and we said, well, we just think nothing of getting in the van and travelling up to Brazil for a show. We just think nothing of it. Obviously, they can't do that at the moment, but, you know, that would just be the norm. You know, whereas for European bands, certainly European bands go over to the continent. I've done that a lot. Willo's done that with his own band as well. But it tends to be rarer, if you like, in the calendar of an average band in the UK over to Europe than say it would be for a Latin American band to get in their van and travel across.
Yeah.
So was it difficult to get all these bands from around the world to join you like last minute, like you were saying?
I think one of the things as it's gone on, it's become even more popular. So we're finding that while we were doing Ayriss Fest 2, we were already getting messages from bands again, a lot from Latin America. Yeah. Can we take part in the next one? You know, and Paul was speaking to a few of them while the event was on, and so it becomes a little bit easier, doesn't it? Do you know what I mean? Because we've already got something to follow up.
Yeah.
You know,
we're fortunate in the pool of talent that's already there. That's just been built.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
It's easy to find volunteers when they're preemptively volunteering. You know.
The most challenging thing is the technology. Is that like, as I was saying, we're trying to get the some bands on where they really needed a lot of training in order to do it. You know, teaching them how to make, say, that Zoom style video block type video, and the different ways that you can do that, the ways that you can do that live, or if it's pre-recording and essentially a music video. Or like the reggae stars did, 24 hours before their set, they were allowed back into their rehearsal room for the first time in 4 months.
Oh my God.
And so the first thing they did was run up there with a couple of GoPros, set them up, did a dummy run, and just did a set, you know. So swings and roundabouts and all that. It just depends on, you know, the attitudes, I suppose. Some bands, they're looking for things to do. They're prepared to go out of their way, and they're prepared to do that sort of thing. Whereas other bands find it perhaps a little bit more intimidating. I don't know.
Yeah, I also like to think that we've become some sort of portal for bands that wouldn't normally get seen, and that's the good thing about the advent of the internet. When the internet is full of rubbish and stuff, but its good points are things like that, where you can. We probably wouldn't have even heard of these bands without the internet. We probably wouldn't have heard of them. You know, I mean, that's the truth. You know, it's a different world now. And man, how old do I sound?
Well, you know, I didn't first touch a computer until I was 26 years old. I'd never seen a computer before 26 years old.
Yeah.
You know, I certainly remember a time with no internet. And now I'm the technical director of a specialised project. Doesn't bode well for me.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like there's certainly a bit of a learning curve, especially if you're working as an artist trying to set this up. It's a different kind of, you know, production that you have to put into it versus, you know, a live show. It requires you to have a certain level of technical expertise, or be willing to, you know, hire people, or, you know, get friends to do it. To do it. I mean, when Pandemics did that little short thing for Supernova, we had our friend John Bravo from Rude King put together our video.
We worked with John.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, John's excellent.
Yeah, well, that's it. You know, there's many ways. There's, you know, the pandemic brought out the coronavirus pandemic, not you. What a great name! What a great name! You should be selling millions of t-shirts by now, right? But you know,
you've been doing all right.
It's made people think out of the box.
Mm-hmm.
You know, who would have thought in March we'd be doing what we're doing? You know.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like, if nothing else, it's sort of it's like the internet. It's kind of leveled the playing field. You know, you don't have, you know,
absolutely.
You don't have bands being able to ride off of, you know, momentum, or to do anything. They have to do anything different. They have to adapt to the moment, at least for now, until things can go back to normal. If they ever really go back to where they were, because I think
that's an excellent point, Chris. Yeah. I think you know, we're hearing from bands that you wouldn't hear of, and bands that you thought, you know, that were the name bands who follow a professional career. You know, we're not hearing from them at the moment.
Yeah,
interesting.
Very.
So, do you guys consider this like this ISO Fest like a natural next step to the festivals that you guys have been doing in the past?
It will be now, definitely. Okay. When we did the first one, like Paul said, we had this mad idea, and I think we must have said, when should we do it? We'll say, well, we'll do it in a week's time, not knowing, not have any. We do this a lot. we ride by the seat of our trousers quite a lot, but we like that in a way, because one, Paul loves to be challenged because he's a technical director, because he's very technical, and that's his background, and I know we both stress and we both fret, but I know he likes the thrust of the battle. Do you know what I mean? So when he said he was going to go work out OBS and all the broadcasting software, I just left it because I knew it'd be fine, because I knew he always comes up trumps. So yeah, it's just, you know, the strange times that we live in. I've just made it. I like the fact we've got different angles. I like the fact we've got different angles now. And whether it goes back to normal or not, we're still always going to have this, and we'll still always use it.
Yeah. I think when we do, like, I mean, obviously we have our annual weekend in November.
The big one, right?
Event, Star Festival. Obviously, we're still planning to do that this year. I can't say for certain whether that's actually going to be the case. But
As it stands, yes.
yeah. But what we may incorporate that in some way to accommodate social distancing and separating and splitting bands apart, so you've not got so many bands clambering on and off the stage, is to use the big screen that's available at this place to stream virtual performances from elsewhere. So for the first time,
Cool.
we'll have a band from Malaysia, and then a band from London, and then a band from Caracas. You know, and
cool.
that can work, you know, in our favour and a way to help split the gig up. But who's to say that the two things now couldn't sort of work together?
Yeah,
Absolutely agree. Yeah.
I mean, there's a set of challenges if you're doing that live, but if you were doing it pre-recorded, you could easily use it as, you know, and you see you slot it in where you'd slot a DJ, you know, or something with changeovers.
Yeah.
Well, you're essentially just playing a film, aren't you? But it is a live performance, you know. I think that sort of streamed performances, they're nothing new. If you go through YouTube, you'll find plenty of examples of bands in a studio filming and recording themselves doing a live set. So it's not like in that concert environment. But there's nothing new in that. But certainly we'll be encouraging bands to consider doing that and recording them so that we have the recording available to us. Well, at more than one event, really. Use them. Yeah. You know, we could take that on tour. That'd be a cheap way to do a tour. Why not? I think of that. Yeah. Hey, I just thought of an idea for social distance gigs there, Paul.
Just wake up that
band. I just throw a projector in the back of the car. It's absolutely fine.
All right. The gear would be significantly less.
Yeah.
A projector and some big speakers.
Yeah.
World tour, here we come.
Plug that into the house PA, can you?
Yeah.
So speaking of,
you have ideas, mate. Hold on.
Speaking of the Specialized project, you guys are coming up on 10 years of doing your thing.
Yeah.
Nice. How did you guys get it? How did it get started?
Well, Willo predates me.
Yeah, I predate a lot of people. But yeah, it basically was just I'm good friends with the Specials, or obviously you know the Specials are, and when they had their reunion tour in 2009, I was very fortunate to be able to tag along, basically. And what they were doing, if people were on the guest list, they were charging them just £5, but that would be a donation to the Teenage Cancer Trust. And just by doing something like that, they raised, I think, 10 grand on tour, which is brilliant.
Wow!
Brilliant.
Right.
And I was also administration on their online fan page, the specials2.com. And when the tour had finished, I sort of took it on myself to try and keep the band in the public eye while they were just, keep the momentum, like we were about momentum and things like that. That's what I was trying to do. And I thought, well, what can I do? And I knew I had a lot of contacts. And then one day I was watching, but I didn't know what I wanted to do. And then I was watching a program on TV about the Teenage Cancer Trust, actually. And I just thought, oh, there's something that I could do. But then I knew, because I had a lot of contacts in the UK and stuff like that as well, and some abroad, with friends in bands and stuff. I thought, well, I know. Let's get some of the people I know to do Specials covers, but not just straight covers. I mean, that's too easy. But try and do something with them, make it, update them and stuff. And as luck would have it, it was one of these weird things where I just put it out there, and then within 5 minutes, the album was full and everybody wanted to do it. And I thought, wow, this is brilliant. And then when you get members of the Specials coming on to play on it as well, I was like, what? What's this?
That's awesome.
And then, yeah. And then we got people like Roland Gift from the Finding Cannibals, the acrylics, and we're like, this is crazy. What's going on here? And it blossomed from there, really. And it was all ever going to be a one-off, that one album, and that was it. And it went down really well, sold out really quickly. And then I was approached by somebody who worked at a holiday park in England and said, do you want to do a 3-day event? And I was like, do I really want to do a 3-day event? I'm on my own, I'm on my own. Yeah. But I managed to pull it off. I know a few people, we managed to pull it off, and it was there down at Sanford when someone said, "We need to do the beat teenage cancer, beat teenage cancer." Like, oh, all right, and then it went from there. I think Paul, you were just after that, were you?
Yeah, it was in that second year.
Yeah.
Well, we already knew each other.
Well, we already, yeah,
we knew each other before.
Yeah.
And well, I just had a few comments about how you were dealing with the technology of it all, really. So I said, leave it with me, Willo. That PA company you got, mate, sack them off. I'm going to sort it all out for you. And he called my bluff. That was it.
Didn't know you were applying for a job, but you know, here you are.
He had no idea.
Oh, and yeah, it's funny how things kind of polarise over time, isn't it?
But we'd work really well because I'm the emotional side of the outfit, whereas he's more technical and very. He reins me in, which is a good thing at times.
Always a good thing.
Always, because I do go off on tangents, and I do. But we just, as a team, we're really good. I think we work really, really well as a team, and we've pulled off some amazing things, and we're very proud of what we've done. And we've raised money for worthwhile causes, and it's a good all-round feel factor thing about it. And our event down at Sanford is just a giant hug fest, and that's what's disappointing about this year, because it ain't gonna be a hug fest, is it?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, where we live in, I guess. I mean, it was. I remember when the second one came about. That was actually the last thing. I used to be in a band called Bigger Thomas, who was on the second version.
I didn't know you. Were you in Bigger Thomas? I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
For 8 years, from 2005 to 2013.
Yeah.
So
Did you play the Soul Salvation track then?
Yes, that was me.
This happens all the
something
time,
new
Keith.
That was the last thing I ever played with Bigger Thomas, believe it or not. I left the band a little after that. Just things were, I don't know, for some reason things were sort of slowing down for the band. I had other projects picking up, and but yeah, that was the last thing. And then after I'd left, they did the 7-inch with Soul Salvation as the B-side with a mirror in the bathroom. I was like,
that's right.
I finally found a copy last week and bought it, like just because I never got a copy of it after it came out.
It's so hard to get hold of.
Yeah.
So hard to get hold of. Because Jump Up print them, you see. Jump Up, Chuck in Chicago, he prints them.
Yeah, Chuck Ryan, yep.
Yeah. So we only get a certain amount from him, and he just sells the rest from his end, So.
Yep.
He's a good man, though. He does a lot for us.
Yep. But I remember from that session, it was like, wow, I got to get Pandemics on this. I got to get. So it became this thing I kind of sort of was chasing, but just because I'd left the band, I kind of lost that in through
that impetus,
through those guys. But it all worked out. You just keep swinging away at it. I met you guys last year, and
yeah.
So here we are.
We'll do it again. Don't worry.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, it's tough. I mean, the Pandemics haven't even been in the studio together since February, just because we had people out on tours, or we're supposed to be out on tours. I think what's called this band I play with sometimes, Pilfers. Our guitarist Vic was out on the road with those guys. They got out to like Utah and had to turn around, which is like 2/3 of the way into the country, and like all the shows just started getting canceled.
Oh no!
It's like fuck, we got to drive home now.
Yeah, I know a British band that they arrived at the venue in Germany. So they're Welsh actually. They're from Mid Wales, and they're Cartoon Violence they're called. And they'd been away for a week and a half, and they arrived at a venue in Germany, and the venue just said, "What are you doing here?" And this is look, you can have a coffee, but after that you've got to get in the van, and you've got to
go home.
Yeah,
have a little holiday, and then get out. Yeah. Oh, that's unfortunate.
Yeah. So you're on the next tribute album, though, aren't you, Chris? Because you and I we've already arranged your track for next year's thing, haven't we?
We'll make it. We haven't picked one out yet, but we're
you've got a little short list.
Yeah. So we've got a few floating around one of those Facebook chats.
We'll
come up with one. Nope.
Yeah. Nobody in the world knows what the theme is yet. Well,
only you'll know first. You'll know it first, and then nobody else will be able to take anything from us after the fact.
Yeah, but at the heart of what we do, I suppose we should say that are these tribute albums. Paul mentioned that it started with a tribute to the Specials and then on to a tribute to the Beat.
Yeah.
You know, and since then, what else have we had? We've had the Clash,
Jam.
the Jam, Bob Marley, tribute to kind of Trojan Records, or at least kind of that sort of 60s era sound, tribute to Two-Tone. This year was kind of a bit of fun, if you like. We thought we'd do the English glam rock scene, just nice. So that we could do something a little bit more fun. But, you know, like I say, we've already got the theme ready for next year. And this is kind of sort of our core to our activities, really, isn't it, Paul? And everything else kind of floats around that. Though sometimes some things become more important and then other things become more important.
Yeah. But we are trying to push things further afield, aren't we? Because we're expanding the record label. Hopefully be releasing the only a big American band on our label. And
well, I hope so. Because, well, they're supposed to be sending me the mastering, but they've not yet.
Yeah,
I know it's finished.
But we're also releasing these showcase albums again, which is original bands sending us an original track and use them as showcase, you know, so get them out there, you know, and called New Scar. We've done
so that's
volume
original tracks.
Yeah, original stuff, yeah. So we're trying to, we're sort of, we're keeping we're sticking to our original sort of what we're good for, what we're known for, but we've also got a lot of in fact, we're going to have a lot of sidelines, aren't we? You know.
Yeah, we are. Well, it seems now as well. You know, the one thing that happens with me and Paul a lot is that we kind of just sort of throw these ideas at each other, and you know, so some of them work and others don't. But that's, you know, but at the moment we have got one or two things going on with expanding the record label, that we're carrying on with our tribute series, the new Scar series of original works. A new series called Sessions, which is like the John Peel sessions of old. I don't know in America whether you're kind of aware of the John Peel sessions, but in the UK, what these essentially were like the stream gigs that we're talking about, is a band would just go into a studio and play it raw as if they would live. So no overdubs, none of that witchcraft that technical people like me like to do in a recording studio. It's just raw live recording. And they made hundreds and hundreds of these Peel sessions, and they still sell to this day. And we're working on a similar thing to that. So we've got one or two bands.
Exciting.
Jay Navarro and the Traitors want to do one from, you know, talking about American.
Very cool.
They want to do one of those. Yeah. You know, and there are a couple of other things as well. We're about to release an album by a legend of 1980s American third generation ska, just as long as they send me the mastering, which they haven't. You know. We'll see. Stuff like that. And then, of course, expanding on our gigs. You know, we're not just doing gigs in UK anymore. We're doing them in Australia.
Oh, really?
Representative shows. Yeah.
That's
very cool.
Yeah, that's an annual thing. But we've also had representative shows in Tokyo.
Yeah. Very cool.
That we were about to have one in Mexico City, but you know, that was actually arranged and ready to go, but and then stopped. So that's still going. But underneath all this time away, I know that that's developed into a much larger beast now, and I need to catch up with those guys. New Line,
as they always do.
In Mexico City. Oh yeah, things are blowing up there right now. Last couple of years have been insane. Non-stop ska festival.
These little feeders back saying, "Oh, but by the way, did you know that like U2 were playing it now?" Or something, you know. So yeah, I'll have to find out what's going on now. U2 aren't really playing it, by the way.
I hope not.
So I remember hearing just like all these like stories, like you know, Tokyo Ska Pirate Circus is selling at the Pepsi Arena there whenever they go down in Mexico City. It's like a 6,000 or it's between 6,000 and 10,000 people, you know, and for an instrumental band from Japan playing ska music, it just sort of, you know, like twists the mind, like how that works. But it does. They go back and they've done it over and over and over again. It's amazing how that all. So moving right along, the Specialized Projects has raised a lot of money for some really great charities over the years. I know that you mentioned earlier that the specials were a big inspiration to donate to the Teenage Cancer Trust. Is there any other reasons that sort of determined how you guys got involved in this? How you decided to basically devote, a significant chunk of your lives to doing, important work that's just really awesome.
Well, I mean, take for instance, Tonic Music for Mental Health. I mean, they're a southern charity in England, but one of our crew suffers mental health issues. I mean, I think we all do, to be fair. But he suffered really quite badly, and he came to us and said, "I want to do something for them." And I thought, well, absolutely. I think because mental health, specifically musicians, is a big thing.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely massive, right? And I think, I've had crippling anxiety all my life and stuff like that, and still do every so often, And I try to keep fit because the fitness keeps it away. I know it sounds silly, but that's what it is. A fitting body, fitting mind thing for me. So that was a no-brainer. That was a no-brainer. And for youth music, we were really pissed off with the lack of youth clubs in this country, the government cutting funding and everything closing, and boys clubs closing, and people who are living and kids who are living in underprivileged areas weren't getting access to anything, And it was a proven fact that when youth music put these little workshops on where they were, the crime rate dropped. That's real, And we thought, what a great job they were doing. I mean, we're just a little back. We just turned along in the background. We're trying to work with it. Yeah.
With youth music, it's not just that these youngsters are going to play with music. The social interaction skills and everything of these workshops plays a pivotal role. Is that people are finding themselves together in workshops that normally, they're fighting with in the street, and they're learning how to interact and how to communicate, and not just that, but also how to project manage and to achieve goals and achieve aims. Because for some people, achieving a goal is as far as off as, say, how we feel we might win the national lottery. We just know that's never going to happen. And for young people, the thought that they might actually succeed at doing something, no matter how small, is something that they've never ever experienced. But if I could just mention with the Teenage Cancer Trust as well, and I know Paul probably know more about this, but each year, a friend of ours who works as part of the specialised team, Michelle, and Michelle lost her daughter to cancer, and each year, amazingly, incredibly, she goes on that stage regardless of who's in that auditorium, and she tells her story. She tells Leva's story. And each year, we're all in tears, aren't we? Every time. And I said to Michelle, I said, I know you don't want me to say this because you never wanted to be an inspiration. You never wanted to be in this situation. But you are an inspiration to me. And each year, I feel revitalised because I think, yes, because Michelle is symbolic of so many people that are benefiting from the work that we do.
I met Michelle at the very first Specialised sort of album launch, the special album launch, and in Coventry, and just listened to her story, sat talking to her in a story, and what the poor girl had to go through was horrendous for a kid at that age. And it's just some sort of way. I mean, I know a lot of people have similar things, and a lot of people suffer, and they have children that suffer. Layla's just one of many. But it's like it's a little not. I think we help Michelle. That's a definite true. I think Michelle finds solace and comfort with us, doesn't she?
Yeah.
And it works both ways.
No, absolutely. It sounds like really, touching stuff. And, there's always, it's always, inspiring, those personal connections from people, there's some of these things. I mean, the way you see some of these issues covered in, the news and stuff, it's like, they reduce it all down to numbers. And that personal connection really kind of brings it home, which is,
it does. Completely. It does.
Yeah. Sorry, Paul, you were going to say?
I was just going to say, it's and, Sanford, where we have the 3-day event, when Michelle's on stage, you've got the biggest, tattooiest, hardest looking skinheads in the world, blubbering like babies. It's a funny thing. It really is. But that, that's how much it affects people.
Well, underneath it all, man, we're all humans.
I work in healthcare,
Yeah.
and I do CAT
Yeah.
scans on these patients.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, like, some of the most heartbreaking stories is seeing cancer affecting families. So
Yeah.
to hear that you guys are like trying to help out that fund really hits home. Like,
Well, we're all touched. I think everyone's been touched by it, haven't they? As well, it's become a universal thing for everybody. So when you hear one story, majority half the time when you're in the business you're in, we can relate. We can exactly relate to what's going on. I've had it, with my father-in-law and things like that, and we lost him, and I struggle with children specifically because my way of looking at it is that they've had no life. So if they're dying under the young, it's just wrong. I know it's the way of the world. I know that's nature, and I know how it works. But in my head, it's wrong. And there needs to be a cure. Something somehow somewhere along the line. God knows how and when, but. We're an intelligent species. Let's get it sorted. It's been long enough now.
Yeah. Or at least that there needs to be effective support systems in place.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And the sort of drop-in centres that the Teenage Cancer Trust run. I know that are typical featuring in their media videos. That they're not government funded. They don't come from the National Health Service that we have here. That comes from sponsorship and people like us. And it's in those places where people have a chance to meet with other cancer patients, and it's very helpful experience.
I was very lucky after we did the first one. We £25,000 of that went to constructing a teenage cancer ward at the Newcastle Freeman Hospital. And I was invited to go up, obviously, because we donated all this money.
Oh, that's
and
awesome.
What they do is, because beforehand in England, I don't know what it's like in America, but in England, young people would be on the same ward as old people. That's how it would be originally, which from a mental attitude sort of thing is not ideal. So the Teenage Cancer Trust was taking over parts of wards and just, it's like walking into your club, PlayStations, it's pool, machines and jukebox, and that's how. And it's painted lovely. It's fantastic. What they do there is amazing. I met some great kids while I was there as well. Heartbreaking stuff, but they were truly, they're the stars for me.
The strength of the kids that are going through it is absolutely mind-boggling. They're stronger than anybody else.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Right?
Exactly what I said. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy.
So, what can we do to help you? Like, we're having you on here for a reason. We want to bring light to you guys doing the stuff you're doing.
Yeah.
What other steps can we take to help you out?
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure Paul says in a minute, but I just want us to get us out there, because I know we're sort of well known and stuff like that, but there's still a lot of people who don't know what we do. And it's.
As an aside, I only found out about you guys because of the ISO Fest.
Well, there you go.
So I honestly, I didn't have the background that Chris does. Like, I work in healthcare. Like, I'm just a fan of music, so I don't know a lot of stuff outside of what I'm.
Yeah.
Well,
the fact we've started, it's everybody in this specialized group, we're all volunteers. We're all people with real jobs. We're all people with families. We're all people who do real stuff, and it takes a lot of time up. And so we're all singing from the same hymn, and it is a unique thing, because we don't, it's like saying to people, we give people jobs. People have jobs to do within the unit, and they don't get paid for it. They get payment in kind in ways like free accommodation at events, and things like that, where you can give it where you can. But so it's a big ask for somebody who's got a real life to live. And we'll always be grateful for that. And we are this unique little unit, and what we do is unique as well. Especially with and the fact that we're now progressing to a stage where we're doing gigs in Australia, in Tokyo, in Mexico. We had one in California about 7 years ago. We had a couple in Australia right in the early days, but the one in Australia is quite big now. And we find that mind-boggling. We find it's crazy because we just sit at our computers and we meet up every so often, and we just don't think much about it because it's become natural. You know, it becomes part of your life.
It's amazing what you can do with just, a couple spare hours and, your emails. It's crazy.
There's a conversation we had one year, isn't it, Paul? I says, I just need to master this Scatterlights track of centres. And then all of a sudden we both went, what? Who? We've got a song from the Scatterlights.
Yeah.
It's funny how these things kind of go about. But I think that the key thing is that we're looking for at the moment is that we are continually trying to broaden how we reach out. Yeah. And part of the Ice Fest has been really successful in doing that. It is taking our reputation further afield, so that when we do contact bands and ask them to take part in our activities, that they kind of already know a little bit about us. But also, the real thing, if you say, well, Paul's, what do you really need us to do? Is we need people to pick up the lantern as well. We need somebody in Detroit to go, do you know what, I'm going to organise a gig. I need somebody in Dieppe to say, do you know what, I'm going to do that too. And it doesn't have to be this big music industry thing. The theme over this general conversation is, you've worked with this, you've worked with that. But frankly, a Skittles night would do me. Yeah. Skittles is kind of a pub thing, similar to bowling, guys. Okay, but it's a very old worldy, old ye oldie pub.
It's shit.
I thought you were talking about
old
candy.
People do, or a bingo night. I don't know.
My inner little kid was like, Skittles night.
Yeah. It's not just about us putting events on.
More people show up to
people
do
to come and attend them, or asking bands to play at them. We're also asking other people to take initiative and to do things on our behalf as well. Because what I say is, we only have so much time, but we could be achieving so much more. And I think that's an underlying kind of buzz in both of our heads. Is we could be doing more, and we're never satisfied that we've done enough. Never. I never am. Ever.
Oh yeah, it's like once you.
Sorry, go on.
I was gonna say it's once you reach your goal. It's like, all right, well, what's the next goal? And it becomes that much insanely higher. I mean, now
the one thing I do like is we won't stop. I mean, if something's too hard, we'll find a way around it. We'll do it. It doesn't matter what it is or who it is that we need to speak to. We will deal with it and we will get on with it. And that's and that's what drives. When we sort of worked out the ISO Fest, how to broadcast your streaming and stuff, it was like, woo, brilliant. Get it.
Yeah. But we were never not going to achieve that, were we?
No, exactly. That's what I'm saying. We knew at some point, I knew that Paul would sort it out.
But look, I mean, there are some really good reasons why bands are finding it very difficult to do stuff. This year's tribute album has been really, really affected by that. It's still going to happen. More so because I've got bands still demanding that it will happen because they've done the tracks. But a lot of bands have very, very good, valid reasons not to be taking part this year. But for us, my mindset is I'm afraid that I don't have that option. I'm not allowed that option. That I can't do it. You see, and so I just have to do something else. So, Paul, there's a killer virus. You got to stop doing gigs. And we're like, well, okay, we'll do them online then.
Yeah.
We're not going to stop for no man.
Adapt and try something else.
I can't record. We can't record because we can't get to a recording studio. Okay, I'm going to ring you up and I'm going to tell you how to home record. Honestly, I've done in double figures now of like home training that I've done for bands taking part on our recordings for. And that's just kind of the nasty driven man.
I might have to hit you up about that one day.
All right, guys. Well, we won't keep him here. We'll just we'll wrap up with if you guys could just plug your website or plug wherever you want people to find you, and then we'll call it there.
You have a GoFundMe campaign, correct?
We have we do. I can't remember the link.
Sorry, we'll find it. It'll be right down there.
Yeah.
It's GoFundMe ZYZE whatever it is. But it's a general appeal because at the moment, like everything else, we are suffering like everybody else, like bands, like venues in England and all around the world, and we need to function as a unit, and it does cost money, and you know, we tend to give away a bulk of our money to these charities and stuff, and normally we just keep on running, and then of course we didn't expect anything like this.
Yeah.
And we've lost all our shows, have been cancelled and stuff. So we do need to stay afloat. And we're trying to, myself and Paul are going to take the big step of making it a business for ourselves as well, so we can devote more time for it to become a bigger thing and something we want to do. So the GoFundMe campaign there, at the moment, the general appeal is definitely a big thing for us, because we need to raise at least $5,000, just so we can keep doing what we're doing. You know, we make our own merchandise, we do everything ourselves. We're seriously DIY. It's a big thing. So there's that, obviously. And if you want to find out more information, also, I'll let Paul talk about the website, but you can get us on social media at facebook.com/specializedprojects. You can get us on Twitter at twitter.com/specializeduk1. And you can get us on Instagram at instagram.com/specializedprojects. Paul.
There you go.
Or the website, which is www.specializedproject.com or .co.uk. They both work.
And we're on YouTube.
We are on YouTube. I can't remember the thing for YouTube. I can't.
That's all right.
Yeah.
Well, I'll find it and put it somewhere across the bottom.
Yeah.
So if you go on the website, everything's there on the website. You know.
I wonder if just the total number.
As the hub.
I wonder if the total number of YouTube accounts just has doubled since March.
Yeah.
It was like, we gotta get online. Sign up for an account.
That's what we did.
Yeah, it's true. That's very true.
All
All right, gentlemen.
That seems like a good place to wrap it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks so much for joining us.
No worries, Chris. Take care, man.
Thank you.
Good luck with the baby.
Oh, thank you very much.
Yeah.
A wonderful thing.
That, Chris. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cheers, mate. Bye-bye
Look
now.
forward to it.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
Thanks a
See
lot.
you
Bye-bye. See ya.
Bye. Hey, everybody. So thank you for sticking around. For our plug of the month, we've got a special project we're working on. We're going to be arranging a raffle with some of our friends' bands to raise money for the Specialized Project. And we've got some really great bands signed on already. We're going to be adding a few more over the next couple weeks. So far, we've got, the Pandemics. Lonely Adam Records is going to be donating some CDs from our distro from bands like Spidernick and the Mad Dogs, Royal City Riot, and Abracadabra from Brazil. In addition to that, we have a bunch of other friends from all over the country. Like who? Keith, who else we got? We got
we got Rhode Island's own the Copacetics. We have New Jersey's Backyard Superheroes. We've got Pennsylvania's Sphinx Constant. We got Washington's Mr. Blank. And then Connecticut's the Hempsteadies. So
very cool.
It's a pretty impressive list.
Yeah, we're gonna have a few more too. I mean, stay tuned. Maybe we'll do a quick little update on what's going on with the prize package for the raffle. But to enter the raffle, we're selling entries in. I think it was $1 a piece for entry. For $5, you get 7. For 10, you get 15 entries. We're doing that through our brand new PayPal account, which you can find at chrisandkeithds@gmail.com. Again, that's chrisandkeithds@gmail.com. Maybe we'll make a quick video showing us picking the winner or whatever the case may be. But whoever wins, we'll ship you the CDs and stuff, and we'll donate all the proceeds to the Specialized Project.
Whoever wins is going to get a nice little bundle in the mail.
Oh yeah, we're looking at least like a dozen CDs already. It's probably going to be, I don't want to put a number in case we don't get a total number like however many people. But it could be upwards of 15 or more records. So
Yep.
it's going to be something substantial to bid on. So.
Yep. And all the money's going towards a good cause. The Specialized
Absolutely.
Project, as we highlighted earlier, are an amazing group, and they're doing some amazing stuff. So help us raise some money.
Yes, sir.
All right. So if you're watching this and you'd like to be a guest on our show, or if you'd want to just be featured as our plug in the month, make sure you send an email to Chris and Keith, chrisandkeithds@gmail.com. Make sure you like and subscribe our channel on YouTube, and keep following us on Facebook, because that's seems to be the most easiest to get some posts up and quick information out.
Yep. Oh, and if you want to contribute to the raffle, like a prize or a CD or something, or please, prizes, if you're going to contribute something, one size fits all items only. No t-shirts. If you got hats, make sure they're adjustable. Just stuff anyone can get. You know, I don't want anyone calling like, you sent me a small t-shirt and I'm triple XL. And of course, you know, I'd be the person to send that complaint. They'd be like,
Yep.
you know, let's just sidestep that whole thing. So
You know what would be awesome? Beer koozies.
Beer koozies. Beer koozies are welcome everywhere.
All right, guys. Thanks for joining us, and we'll catch you next month.
All right. Peace out, everybody.